Go. Recording started. And play here. All right, here we are, June. It is somewhat of a long weekend. And am I showing the right one? Yeah, here we go. Okay, welcome back, everyone. This is what we're talking about. We go through our agreements as per usual, just right out of the gate. Be curious, obviously, be respectful, get to the point, show up to each session. Video on is preferred. AI is fine as long as you're in the room. So if you're capturing on AI, then that's good. Actually, let me make sure my companion is turned on as well. And yeah, so this is kind of how we want to roll with how we function. If you can advise, then absolutely like raise your hand or use the little raise hand modifier in Zoom. Also connect in chat as well. So we're going to go through a little bit of the format like normal. We'll have a few people say hello. And we're going to be talking about our topic today, which will be team accountability. At the same time, I think most people kind of know each other in here, but I will get an introduction. And so yeah, let's take a look. Actually, it's been a while since you've said hello. Let's get you to do your intro here.
I'm glad I have a voice today.
Mhm.
Okay, my name's Ashley Waddington. For those of you who don't know me, it's nice to meet you. I'm the founder of Ponder This Consulting, and we train managers. So we have an incubator that's about 120 days that levels up management teams. A recent win in my business. It's not a win yet, but we're manifesting it. I have a very big management team, about 50 managers that I'm talking about going in and helping a credit union train, so that's pretty exciting, but it's not closed yet. So we're speaking it into existence, and I'm excited to hopefully close that soon. And then, how does someone get a hold of me? LinkedIn, I'm all over that. Email, you can call me, you can text me. I'm pretty accessible, and I'm happy to drop my contact information in the chat for you guys too if you do want to reach out, have a conversation, connect, network. Always open to that.
Fabulous. Awesome. Okay, great. Matt, why don't you hit up next?
This Matt, Metro Valley? Yes, sir. All right, let's do it. So Matt, owner here of Metro Valley HVAC. Yeah, I've been going at it for a few years now, but a recent win I think would be maybe kind of picking more of a dedicated lane, I would say, in business. I've been kind of taking on a lot of different stuff as I like the challenge of it, but really trying to focus more on service. I think is gonna truly really gonna be where we shine as a company. Getting a hold of me would be through a network kind of such as this. Obviously, you'd be able to find me on LinkedIn, but I am not super active online. So I will admit I am not as easy to get a hold of as Ashley over here.
Well, stick your contact information in the chat there, regardless. Okay, cool. So today we are going to dive right into it because we're talking about team accountability. And so we're going to kind of define a little bit what that looks like, and why that is important, straight out of the gate. So as always, I like to define things. And when we're talking about team accountability, we're functionally talking about the accountability part of a team. Why do we have a team in the first place? Actually, I'll ask this question. Some of you guys know this already. What is the point of a team? We talk about team development, team building, team communicate. Like, what's the point? Why? What's the point of a
We
team?
can accomplish more together than we can by ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so your team size is the size in order to create the ability to accomplish as much as you can. So that's the point. Okay, so when we're talking about accountability, what are we talking about? Okay, so let's define this a little bit. Always very important to define what we're talking about. All right, so this is what the dictionary says. Accountability is the fact or condition of being accountable and responsible. Okay, all right, sounds good. Sure, whatever. Condition of being accountable. It's like accountability is about being accountable. Great, thanks, dictionary. So let's go to what accountable means then. Accountable is Therefore, someone who is required or expected to justify actions or decisions. Okay, that's a little bit better. I can hang out with that one for a little bit. So if it's required or expected to justify actions or decisions, someone who is accountable is a person who has made and will make justifiable actions and decisions. That's a really good way of starting to sort of extrapolate this a little bit. So let me share a different screen here now, and I'm going to start scribbling on my iPad. Okay. So you guys know that I talked about this idea of past, present, future, right? Okay. So most people see past, present, future, and I often talk about this when we're doing mindset stuff, where I'm talking about past, present, future. And instead of calling it past, present, future, I call it memory. And instead of calling it future, I call it vision or idea. And instead of calling it present, I call it action. Okay. So we rename it. So we're no longer looking at past, present, future as a linear thing. Most people see past, present, future as a linear thing that moves like this. No, that's not what it is. Instead, you have this moment, your present state action, which creates your past, and your present state action will create your future. So it expands outwards instead. So you really only have one thing. You have your present state action. So when we're looking at accountability against this framework, what we're saying is someone accountable for past actions? Are they accountable for past actions and for past decisions? So they did something. Can we go back and say that? Okay, well, if they did it here, it means it would have happened at some point in your present state. They made a present state thing, which then became a memory of what they actually did. If they're accountable for future actions, and decisions, that means that they are making these actions and decisions in the present state as well. So what are you really trying to do as a leader when you're having team accountability? You need to take care of this. And if you're not taking care of this, what you're doing is you're saying, well, they did this thing. No, they did a thing and you weren't paying attention to the thing that they did. So you're now dealing with the consequence of something that has now already occurred. So your ability to define accountability in a team has to do with really understanding what is happening in each particular moment in your business over here. So, we have some future planning that we do, and we say, okay, well, we're going to have some future plans. And when are those plans going to get actioned? Well, they're going to get actioned in whatever the date is that you said it's going to happen. So this whole idea of like, oh, my team's not very accountable is a mistake in present state action. You don't have a system, you don't have a mindset, you don't have communication. There's a missing link on what's happening now that's causing you to deal with past consequences. So it gives you a lot of agency, actually. Now, there's a term that I want to throw out here, which is very, very important, and it's effectively close the loop. Accountability is closing the loop. Well, I thought my team knew how to do it. Okay, you didn't close the loop. They did something they didn't verify. Okay, you didn't close the loop. There was a missing component there to either create predictability or structure. I always say one of the most important things that you can do as a driver on the road is be predictable, right? Like, are you someone who turns on your turn signal and then hits your brakes, or do you hit your brakes and then turn on your turn signal? Which one's more predictable? It's turn signal then brakes, okay, in case anyone's wondering. Because I know you're hitting the brakes because you're probably going to turn. So present state action, turn on my turn signal, touch the brakes. Oh, okay. That makes sense. They're hitting the brakes. Why? Something in front of them? Are they changing lanes? Are they turning off the road? I don't know what's going on. Turn signal came on. Oh, okay, get it. So if you're trying to be accountable to the people around you, can you become more predictable? So close the loop, become more predictable. Now we are always trying to create predictable actions in our team. That's functionally what we're trying to do. We're trying to make our team more predictable so that their present actions creates future and past accountability. So it means you got to do the work now. Now it's also easier to see when it's not done versus when it is done. Like it's very easy to say when someone didn't have accountability, but it's less easy to say when someone did have accountability. Right? We can all kind of somewhat agree with that. So you got to get very present focused. And the more present focused you are, the better off you're going to be. Okay. Who wants to comment on that? Any comments?
I just think about it in the context of mitigating risk. So that's what comes to mind for me, like hearing that, how it's a way to mitigate risk in a team, in a business, is accountability, present and future, but like in the moment. I like the way that you don't describe it as linear, past, present, future. I like the fact that it's defined by actions today and they influence. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives you a lot of agency. Okay, so let's just recap that. Someone who is accountable is a person who has made and will make justifiable actions and decisions. If they are making present state justifiable actions and decisions, it means that their past will have had better accountability. And if they have clarity around what it is they're trying to achieve in the future, then their present state actions and decisions will be more justifiable and more effective. So that's functionally what you're going for. So if you had to define accountability in your team, it's that. Make them accountable for present state justifiable actions, present state justifiable decisions. And if they can't make those decisions, then you're going to have issues in the future and you're going to have a memory of past problems. And that's really, really important. Okay, so let's go into this idea here. I'm going to use a different whiteboard. I'm just going to jump around in different formats here. Because this one's going to be much simpler to move around. And I'm going to use sticky notes. Okay, so how? What? And results. Okay, so this is really what we're looking at when it comes to what a team is functioning in. At a junior level, you are telling people what to do, how to do it, and the result that they want. That's fundamentally what you're talking about. Like, this is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to do it. This is the result that I want. As your team grows, you start to remove some stuff. As the leadership authority grows, you start to remove some stuff. The first thing that you remove is which one?
How?
Yeah, perfect. Who said that? Ty?
Ty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Solid. Yeah, the first one that goes away is this one. Because you want them to become more innovative. You're giving them more authority on how to do something. You're still telling them what to do, but you're trusting in their ability. So to remove this, you need trust. They need skill and predictability. Like what Ashley said, removing mitigating risk. But you want to hire people who don't, or develop and coach people so that you have to tell them less how to do stuff. Now, if you're a micromanager and you don't have predictability and you never give people the ability to do the how, you're always going to be stuck in that position. You have to divest hows, because as long as they're getting the result, this is still leading to this, this is still leading to this. If you remove this and this goes somewhere else, random, and it's not a result that you want, bad outcome, then you got to work on reconnecting this to the how. But you can't have it where, you know, this here, you ought to be trying to get rid of that. So people continue to move. You have more accountability in the team. They are making good decisions, justifiable actions. Over time, you do what? You remove this one. Over time, you remove a little bit about what they're focused on. Because as long as they're getting results that are driving your company forward, they have to start being able to say, hey, I think what we should be working on is this project. Hey, I think what we should be doing is this strategic initiative. I think what we should be doing is pushing this into the business. This is how I'm going to do it. They're starting to become free thinkers. And if they are aligned with what your company goals are, this is a huge, huge win for you. Now, again, if this leads to bad outcomes, then you got to fix it. If it leads to they don't know how, but they know the what, then you help them with the how. You could also create a lot of systems here, right? Way, way further down the line, what you do is you remove the result. They set the success conditions. They monitor their success conditions downwards with their team. Now, if you want to build a fair-sized, autonomous, running, functioning business, and you want to run a business that is going to allow you to sell it, all these three things have to happen over time. Because there's no way a private equity firm is going to come in and buy your business. There's no way a larger business is going to come in. There's no way an acquisition merger is coming in if they have to buy the driver and the car at the same time. They want your team to do it. If your team can do this, then you've made yourself redundant, which is the point. If that's what you want your business to be. And so you're constantly looking for areas where this makes sense. So remove the how, they work on the system or they do it their way, great. You remove the what, they set objectives or work on established strategies. And later on, you remove the result because they set the success conditions and they monitor downwards. Yeah, actually, I have a friend that just lost the private equity firm that wanted to buy his company because of exactly this. Yeah, they needed to do an earnout with that person, and maybe it was not even built to sustain, right?
Yeah, they didn't want to buy the leadership with the business, but the business can't function without the leadership. And so eventually they backed out because it's just not worth the investment, even though it's a great company and it's profitable. They just don't want to have to keep him on board and have him basically run the company for them.
Totally. Now, if he had developed leaders to do those things, they would buy those leaders.
For sure.
And just so you guys know, when you're building a company, if you're starting to build out a equity structure, most of those equity structures only work on your sell of the business. Like you sell the business, your team gets a payout, and someone else owns the business. They may still have a job, they may still have a profession or a career, but it's one of the biggest factors on how you can set up a business successfully to make a whole bunch of people a lot of money. Because you make a bunch of money, they have shares in the company, they end up getting their shares purchased out. They still end up with their position and role, but they get a big cash draw on the sale and purchase. If you're really thinking downstream in that area, then that's functionally what you're looking at. So this is where you kind of want to start going, okay, where do I release the how first? The how is the first thing. And you got to create systems, predictability, skills, and trust. And let them fail a little bit. This is how I thought I could do that. Okay, cool. Did it get the result wanted? Not quite. All right, let's massage this. You're developing and growing these people. Now you got a bunch of people who know how to do stuff, how to do it autonomously. Now have them start driving what you're focused on. As long as you have some key results, very key KPIs, clear objectives and outcomes. You understand success conditions, then it's good. And over time, if they're running big moving parts of the company, they decide what these things are. I had a meeting recently with the team, and I'm like, okay, what's a success condition for you? No one could answer it. Not ready yet. Right? Owner, director, other people have to say this is what we're going for. That's normal. Don't remove results before how. Don't remove results before what. I see that a lot. For removing the result component well before that state. Okay, initial feedback on that? Who wants to comment?
Hard to find people who can make good decisions. Sometimes very difficult.
Yep.
Yeah, it does come with you have to let go.
You got yeah, but not before you can get predictability.
Right. Yes.
And not before you've defined outcomes. Like a lot of people are like, you know what, I want to do it my way. Okay, but the company hasn't defined what the results are. So then the how deviates outcome. And they're not even focused on the right thing. So these things have to kind of have to tie in together. Very, very important. Okay, so let's get tactical here a little bit. Grab your pen and paper, you guys. Where is it? Here we go. Here's a hard question, but maybe you got some of these people on your team. Who in the last 4 quarters, so the last year, for you, most of you, proved they don't belong? I know, right out of the gate. This is the mafioso whack 'em approach. Who in the last 4 quarters proved they don't belong? Maybe you don't have that problem, right? Hopefully, if you're working directly with me, you don't have that problem. Hopefully, if you've got a really good team and you've created some good accountability, you don't have this problem. But a lot of companies go in and say, you know what? This person has proved they don't belong. Who would you need to hire so that you could get more time to be focused on the thing that matters the most? Is it a project manager? Is it an executive assistant? Is it a social media? Is it someone in marketing? Is it someone who knows how to build spreadsheets? Is it someone who's really good at writing copy? Who knows, right? Could be different for all of you. Who would you need to hire to create more time for you to focus on the part that matters? Who would you need to recruit for the next 4 quarters? Now, you might be in a growth arc, you may be in a stabilizing arc, you may be in a retraction arc. These different things happen based off of what your needs are. Sometimes it's important to retract, sometimes it's important to grow, other times it's important to stabilize. Where are you in that? but who would you need to recruit? And who do you need to invest in? Like actual investment. Not like, you know what, you're great. I'm talking really giving them direct coaching, added skills, putting them through a course, spending more one-to-one time with you, giving them more authority, more accountability, a little bit more, levers to pull in the business, figuring out projects that they can start to take on. Like what is that? Who would you need to invest in? 4 fundamental questions. You should be asking yourself these 4 questions every quarter. Every single quarter, these 4 questions should come up, and you should do your inventory on these 4 questions. Okay, scale of 1 to 10. This is you rating yourself for holding people accountable. How good are you at holding your people accountable on a scale of 1 to 10? Be honest with yourself. It's not the time to, it's your notepad, it's your book. Are you sometimes too lenient? Are you not consistent? And remember what we said accountability was. Accountability is the ability for someone to make and will make justifiable actions and decisions. So are you good at keeping your people towards making justifiable actions and decisions? How come? If you're a people pleaser, why? What is it? What do you need to fix if you're a people pleaser? It's not about not being likable. There's a difference between being likable and wanting to be liked. Some people are very likable, and then people, ironically, who really want to be liked are very unlikable. Because it's needy, it's about them. Is there someone who you have trouble holding accountable? Oops. There we go. So who is that? Who is that person on your team that you struggle holding accountable? What is it? Is it power dynamic? Are they someone who raises a fuss? Do they tend to be dismissive when they're being held accountable? And so it's hard to kind of like, can you not nail them down? Are they very evasive? Do they blame other people? Who knows? But this person is causing you struggle. How does that hurt your business? Not holding this person accountable actually hurts my business because why? It creates favoritism, or I don't get deliveries from that individual, and so it's not very functional for me. Or it makes my high performers not perform as high because they just see that this person gets away with whatever. Okay, once you get better at holding people accountable, I will be what? What will you be able to do? If I get better at holding people accountable, I'll be able to what? Drive sales, focus on other parts of the business, take a vacation, work on a passion project, get this part of the business that I was really heavily focused on to actually get some traction. Like, what's the impact for you? I'll be able to sleep. Okay, it's a good one. And so to get better at holding people accountable, you need to make 3 immediate actions. What are they? It might be trusting more. It might be decentralizing. It might be micromanaging less. It might be micromanaging more. It depends on you and how you've developed your team. But I would vet against it. You like if you feel like, oh, I need to become more like this, check. Go ask someone. Go ask someone else in this room. Go ask me. Like I think I need to actually relinquish control. I have low levels of trust. I think that's the thing that's holding me less accountable because I never give them space. I haven't created enough vacuums of space for them to be able to step into. I'm always in the way, so they never take it on. Okay, that's a good one. Maybe it's the opposite. I give too much space because I don't want to look like the bad guy. So I just let them do what they want to do. And then I get pissed off because they don't get the outcomes I want. Okay, so two opposites, right? It'll be unique to you. You need to figure out where you live in that spectrum. Who wants to share a takeaway from this part? Or an insight?
I'll share an insight.
Yeah.
This was, as you were talking, very easy to answer all the questions. So that means your work has been recognized, and I've been observant of all their teachings, Edwyn, because as you were reading the questions, I was writing down people's names and answering these questions, and I don't think I could have been doing that a year or two ago. And part of that attributes to letting go and trusting the team that's underneath us currently to create visibility on those items. But also, I mean, it's still glaringly obvious the problems that I have with trusting people to make the last final verification. But I know we've been talking about that and working towards that. And it's been a huge part of it is to stop solving problems for people, let them make mistakes. I mean, not catastrophic errors, but you have to let them and then just showcase your decision making directly in front of them. Instead of making the decision, then telling them you made the decision, like openly make the decision together. Throw it on speakerphone when you're closing the deal. Let them see how you do that, your wording, how you handle it, like little things like that. And so that awareness and that trust is huge. Are there still issues? Yeah, for sure. But they're a lot easier for me to answer. And yeah, that's my takeaway.
Awesome. Yeah. Fabulous takeaway. Love it. Yeah, I mean the amount of work you guys have done is incredible. So yeah, big props. Okay, so there's more. We got more to do. This next one is directly from oh, what happened here? I think I might have doubled up on this one. Okay, here we go. Is that the one that I want? Hang on. Presented, let's display. Did it come in? I'm gonna move this around actually. 1 sec. This is the one I want right now. Okay. If you don't have a highly reliant person on your team, this is what you need to do. This is taken directly from Patrick Bet-David. We covered this at the Vault, and we also covered this at a workshop that we did last year in December. I really like it. I don't know where he got it from, but it's a way to rank real drivers in your business and how to get someone to become a strong wingman, right? So, like Duncan, you and Graham, huge on this scale, right? So it's like this whole idea of like, how do you build this up? Actually score some people against it. So if you took 4 high potential leaders that either in your network, maybe in this room, maybe in this people in your social circle, maybe they're on your team, and you score them, straight out score them. You say in character, this person is an 8. Okay. You know what? They're 4 because I sometimes feel like they are a little bit self-serving. Right? You give them a score, put that person's name, score them on character. Then on trust, how much trust do you have? Can I really lean on this person? Do I not really know them that well? Are they just an acquaintance or a random friend? Like what's the level of trust? background, credibility, all this other stuff that they worked on. What about their work ethic? Are they a stop-start person? Yeah, I did that project, man. I'm going to take like the next 6 weeks and just coast. Or are they going to be kind of going? Are they obsessive? Are they nonstop? Are they going? Great. Or are they part of what, I love this, the 459 Club? They sign out at 4:59. Can't get a hold of them. Impossible. You know, how many of you guys have sent me a late night message thinking I was going to get it in the morning and I responded to you that same night? Yeah. It's like, you know, it's not really work for me. It's passion. We talked about this today, right, Ty? I'm like, great. I love it. So, you know, if you don't love it, then just know that you're going to be in the 459 Club. So enjoy being there. Your vision, are they bought in? Do they really believe? Are you inspiring? Are you sharing what that is? With a lot of you, I'm talking about like, what is your vision? Does the company know? Does the team know? Are these people just like Debbie Doubters? Are they average thinkers? Or are they just small thinkers? Like they can't see what's possible for them, for others? Like where are they on this? And then how good are they at actually things? Competency. Are they skilled? Are they an expert? Are they experienced? Are they an amateur? Can they do it? Do they have the ability to do it? And then how big is their Rolodex or their contact list? Are they, you know, can they be like, oh, I know this guy, he's in this industry, or I know that, or are they able to draw on this, all this stuff? Maybe they have a very specialized thing. Oh no, okay, this person's really good in the design field. This person's really good in architecture. This person's, you know, like, that also has a big value, right? Someone who is just like a big Rolodex in marketing, great. You know, big Rolodex in wholesale manufacturing, great. You know, that is valuable as well. Or are they super local and very limited? Like they don't have a big network. They're just a pea in a pot. Okay. Now, if you had to give a difference in scale, you can drive vision in someone. If you have it, you can help them with hard skills, and their contact list may or may not be vital for what they need to do. But these first three, character, trust, and work ethic, those are non-negotiables. If they're not in the upper echelon, 7+, I would even say 8+, 9 or 10, if you're looking for someone to actually partner into your business at a high level, they need to be 9, 10 on character, trust, and work ethic. It's just, you're going to give yourself a huge headache if you don't have those things. Right. So actually go through and make your list. Go find 4 people, write down your list. If you can't write down a list of 4 people, your Rolodex is too small. So you got work to do. You need to start doing more as a business owner and operator. So it's a very, very important thing. Okay. This one here. Your culture. You need to be able to answer these questions. Our company culture is defined by blank. If you struggle with finishing the sentence, you got work to do. To actively create this culture, I blank. I sell it to customers, employees, and partners by, what's your mechanism? How do you do it? The rituals and traditions that align with our culture are what? Do you do recognition on a quarterly basis? Do you have really innovative team meetings? Do you are you a meritocracy, or are you a legacy employee place? Like what is it? Our benefits package can be best described as amazing, terrible, don't have one. What's your benefits package look like? And benefits package is done like this because it's not just about health benefits. It's like, do you have a bonus structure? Do you have a system of rewarding people with a flex day? Do you know, like all these other sorts of things. Do you give people projects as benefit? People who are really intrinsically driven will like that. So you need to fill in these blanks. Okay. So can you evaluate your team on that other graphic that I showed? And who are your most trustworthy employees? How do you keep them accountable? I will find which rock stars for roles, and I will happily pay them well above market rate. Don't be cheap with your number one people. They're your number one. You know, if you're gonna start to like really try to become attractive in the market, you have to be able to play above market rate for your top people. And what will that person allow you to do? Right. You know, those people will allow you to do other things. So, you know, that's a really expensive hire. Yeah, but look at the skills they bring. Look at, if you ranked them against this, man, they're fair, they're reasonable, they're honest, they're driven, you can trust them. They're always there, they step up to bat. They totally bought into everything that we're trying to do. They're massively expert at all the things that they apply themselves towards. They know a ton of people. Great. And if you're not attractive to this type of person, start building that up.
I totally agree with not, pay those people really well, but I also think that there's a mistake people make in assuming, okay, I'm going to pay this person 10, 20 grand above market rate and they're going to stay, and then you just load them with everything and you just think, okay, they're locked in. I'm paying them 160 grand a year. And really they're in their heads, they're like, well, that 10 or 20 grand more after taxes is $10,000 a year for my life, so that's the mistake I see people make, is they throw money at people and then like overload them. Right. And those people will happily, I've done it myself. I former jobs I left for lower salary jobs that were just more flexible and had better time off. And so yeah, like people can become blind and just be like, throw this person all the money and then they leave, right?
Completely. Yeah. You're effective, in the leadership trinity, I call that the mule, right? Where you've given them all the accountability and a ton of things to do. They don't really have enough authority to be able to modify their own schedule or say what you give them and what you don't give them, because you're still effectively doing the what, how, and results without giving them the ability and the tools to be able to manage what that looks like. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It's a great point. You don't want to abuse those people. And if they're really good, they're going to be able to do it. And they'll tell you, like they'll be like, that's what I'm good at. That's not what I'm good at. Yeah, it's a really great point. Okay, so open discussion now, team. Let's dive into it. What are some of the things that are coming up top of mind? You're welcome to be vulnerable, share some traps, share some goals, share some ideas on what it is you may or may not be doing, or what you need to do, or what's working for you. This is where we're able to scrum up a lot of these this conversation.
think my biggest problem is finding methods to hold people accountable. I don't know how to.
Like it's like obfuscated from you, or
What do I do if somebody screws up and doesn't learn, and I want them to fix their mistakes, but what do I do? Make them do push-ups?
so you're
Have you
talking
made them
about the
fix it for
reprimand
free?
of consequence,
I'm
right?
talking about holding them accountable. How do you hold somebody accountable?
So it happens before it's happened.
Yeah, I get that, but when it happens, how do you reel it back?
Okay, who wants to answer that? Virgil, anyone want to?
I mean, I wonder if you can make them fix it for free. Can you be like, look, I can't pay you to go back. I've taught you how to do this. Like we went over this clearly. Or is that, I don't even know if that is legally allowed in the company, or like if you've got a person, filling a work for you, even if it's fixing their own mistakes, do you have to pay them for every hour that they work, or can you ask them to fix it for free?
You could get sued pretty quickly if they're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
on their 48th hour with no overtime and they're doing it for free. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's tricky. Like with employee, how do you hold someone who's an employee who has, a certain understanding of the laws accountable?
That could affect their bonus structure if you have that in place.
Okay.
That's at discretion, right? So if their bonus is on the line and they had a late deficiency on a delivered project that was still within warranty, you say, hey, unfortunately, we can't pay this out in full, and that's because the profitability was compromised through that mistake. It's like the clawback approach. It's not desirable, but I mean, you can't ask someone to work for free, like you said.
I think even that needs to be in writing somewhere in your bonus structure.
Yeah, before, like, what if you have a new person come on and then he makes a mistake that you've showed him a few times? He's not exactly an owner and he has no bonus structure. It's like you just people.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
sorry.
It seems to me that there'd be a bottomless number of ways you could hold someone accountable, but to me, the starting point would be if you're going from a person or a leader who struggles with holding a team accountable to wanting to become a leader that does. It starts with a meeting or a hard reset, whether it's one-on-one or in a group setting of, hey, this is something that I've been struggling with and something that I need to change my way of leading behind. And here's how this is going to change, or here's some expectation setting around what this is going to look like moving forward. And I need you guys to understand why. I need you to understand what it's going to look like. And, kind of just laying it out for them, or pre-framing the process of what the accountability is going to look like moving forward, I think is the first place to start. Because if you just start doing it without setting context, or without the proper communication line, then it's going to be clunky and it's going to be awkward, and you're kind of in your own head. Whereas if you've created a plan and you've communicated effectively and everyone understands what the point is, then I think it's a lot easier to take action from there.
I would come back to this as well. What are we doing? How are we going to do it? This is the result that we want. If that is crystal clear and they're still not doing it, then it's either one of two things. They're dumb or they're negligent. Either way, neither one is good. But if there's a missing system in the business, if there's a missing level of skill development in the business, if there's not a predictability in your processes and SOPs, and there's no cadence in following up on what matters, and do we talk about it, and is it proactive versus reactive, then we've got this whole situation, right? Like, so I'll share with you a story about the restaurant space. Very, very fast moving environment. Okay, and you got if something's going to go sideways, it's going to go sideways, and the ability to recover is low. Like if you end up with a whiteout in the kitchen, your odds of you fixing that downstream are a major problem, right? Like that shift is probably going to come off the rails very, very rapidly. And so what do? You set it up. Here's the expectations. Here's our service procedure. This is exactly how large parties get pushed in. This is the priority of how the rail is going to get run. This is how the expos operate. This is what the priority matrix is. What happens on the floor when. This is how you slow down this. This is how you speed up this. There's a lot of like on-fly play action type stuff going on. But the number one place that I see, for example, restaurants go sideways is when they have a reactive service culture and they haven't preloaded what it is that they need to do. So is that existing somewhere in there, and what's the cadence, right? Like, Ty, you and I were talking this morning, and this whole idea of, I think you're one of the best at it, Ty, actually, honestly, when I see it. When Ty talks about the values and the ethos of the company, man, like this guy needs to be in church. Like, it's like the team is bought in, and every week just gets after it. It's inspiring. It's clear. There's no confusion. And when someone makes a mistake, they own it. They're like, yeah, no, I got it. And they ask for coaching. They ask for that feedback. It's like the ability to create that kind of culture is very, very important. But if you have a laissez-faire, okay, well, I guess it's a problem, sure, type of thing, sometimes you got to escalate a little bit. Say, no, it's not okay. So there's a whole bunch of different ways and mechanisms to make that happen.
Yeah, I think if I can touch on what's working for us anyways, like a couple of things just on that point of like holding people accountable, I would probably shift the focus to how do we create accountability would be number one, right? So if that's a process, if that's like a weekly on-site meeting, if it's a site level guys or whatever realm it, the communication side of things is where you get people, if you're talking about accountability and they see other people, calling themselves out, it's going to create accountability. Our motto from day one has been, collaboration. So when we created our values, our company values, number 3 value is accountability. And our core team created that, right? So not me, our team did. So there's already buy-in in that, right? So that for us was number one. But the team meetings that we do constantly, it's like we highlight accountability once a month minimum, right? And just the development that we've seen in such a short period of time with our team members taking accountability is because of the culture that we are driving, right? It's night and day. Like, it's absolutely night and day. And it's just one of those scenarios where, Edwyn's been a big part of it, but I feel like to create it, having like, I can't hold somebody, I'm in the construction industry. I can't give somebody a schedule after I've created it and force them to be accountable for it. But if I bring them in after it's been created and we run through it together, right? Is that creating accountability by doing that? So there's that little way of bringing them into it and having a bit of ownership to it, right? Like they feel like they're a part of that, decision to do that. They're taking full accountability from it. I'm not telling them what we're doing. I'm giving them a chance to give feedback, right? We might tweak the schedule a little bit, and now they're taking full accountability of it, right?
I just want to add, sometimes accountability, like holding people accountable, starts with holding yourself accountable of what did my expectations look like? What did my communication look like? Where was there clarity here? And if the answer to that is yes, what systems do I have in place to then hold people accountable? Like Ty is saying, like those are systems that build accountability. But I think the first step has to be a check-in of, have I been accountable to being clear? Because I see this with managers all the time. They want to fire people, but there's been no communication as mistakes were happening. So there's really been no accountability, but it comes back to there was no communication about what the expectations were. And then when they fall through and they fail, we're also still not acknowledging, well, why did this happen? How do we fix this? How do we grow from here? And then it escalates to, we want to fire this person. but there's been no coaching, there's been no feedback, there's been no communication. So I think it starts with being accountable to yourself of, have I done what I need to do as a leader? And if the answer is yes, then what are the systems I have in place to then make sure that we're holding people accountable?
Yeah, really, really great points, you guys. And I think another factor here as well, and not just to stay focused on your question, Israel, but just in general, is at what point does a verification need to happen in order to ensure the outcome that you want? So, there was a leader I was talking to, and he's like, oh no, I totally trust my team. And he's kind of involved in the first 10% of this. And then what he does is later on, he comes in at the final 5 and is not happy with everything that happened in between 11% and 95%. It's like, well, could you have checked at 60%? Like there's this whole idea of it. So how much do you relinquish control on the how versus the what to ensure the result is developed over time. And I think it's important to know whether we're okay with feedback early and often. Feedback early and often is a really, really big thing. I talked to you guys about this quite a bit, where I'm like, I made a promise to myself at one point when I used to go home, and I think it was one of my kids actually told me, they said, how come you talk about like work like that? They were really small, like 6 or 7. I was like, why do I talk about work like that? Like, should I just tell them? And I'm like, okay, I'm no longer going home with information about someone else's performance that I can't control. I'll just tell them, and then I can leave, and they own it. I'm like, you own this. I can't own it. You own it. But if I come home and I talk to Simone and I'm like, yeah, you know what, so-and-so was like this and so-and-so was like that. And the first question is, well, do they know? And so it's like, I just stopped doing that. So, and then, the expectations come in there, but there's a lot of, complication, right? Is in regards to skill as well. Matt, we had a conversation about that, where are we sometimes putting people who don't have enough skill in a position to execute on something that's beyond their capability? That then would be the accountability of the owner or the individual as well. Now, if we're not, and we are giving them a task to accomplish within the skill and the capability of what they have available, then we hold them to the consequence of not fulfilling their part of the bargain, right? But team accountability does not have to be a bad word. I think it's actually a really good word. And I think if you have a culture of team accountability, you end up with a lot of really positive outcomes.
Another thing just to touch on is obviously as teams are growing or you're hiring new people, like what does your roles and responsibilities look like, right? Is there a clear understanding for new team members of what they're expected on accountability level? Is that clearly outlined? Like, do they that's a good question to ask, like people that are struggling with accountability, like, do they understand what they're accountable for in their role on a day-to-day? That would be a good question. Like, just, I might actually start doing that more often, where it's just like, if somebody's struggling with accountability, ask that question.
What would that sound like exactly?
What would that sound like? Probably something very simple, like, hey, Edwyn, I just got a question for you. I'm wondering, do you clearly understand what you're accountable for on a day-to-day within Crave Homes?
Yeah, great question.
And just sort of see what they come back with, right?
Because I think you could ask them if they understand what you're accountable for as well as their leader. because sometimes they think it lives within your accountability sector. And when you're asking them that question, just say, do you know what I'm accountable for? Because then it will unveil many of their accountabilities, knowing that they're directly beneath you. I struggle with this a lot because I often make excuses why I won't hold someone accountable because I believe it lives in my domain. And so I think that I could really work on that, but it's because I'm like, did I give enough training? What were they totally clear on their job description, responsibilities, and accountability? Or was that unclear? So there it falls back on me for not making it clear. And I think that's where I'm just being a bit vulnerable there. I struggle with that big time. And I love your points, Tyler. They're really good.
And you know, success conditions. I know we're going a bit over. I'm happy to go over here. So if anyone needs to bounce, let me just go ahead. But success conditions are vital. Knowing what success looks like is absolutely a requirement on anything. I mean, it's, you know, sports analogies are sports analogies because they make sense. Like, this is what success looks like. You know, you're racing a motorcycle around the racetrack. Great success. Baseline is you coming across the start finish line, not having crashed. Success condition 2 is doing that in right around 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Success condition 3, which would be even a more increased success condition, would be you doing that and coming in the top 10. Right? It's like, okay, great. Those are my 3 things. Yeah. One of those will keep the other 2 from happening. The other 2 become variables of outcome. And defining success conditions, I think, is something that we can really, really lean into. And there's this like photographs, SOPs, video, clear walkthroughs, all sorts of other stuff to really make someone understand. You know, like for example, Duncan, what you said in the beginning of having someone like be on a call so they can hear what that sounds like is really, really important. You know, I try to role play success conditions when I'm running meetings with you guys. So when you run your own meetings, you can still follow that similar format or that style so that you're able to have success conditions independently in those areas. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of go about it. I don't think there's a one size fits all, but you know, under the question of what would be immediate actions to get better at holding people accountable, I would say, I don't want to feed them to you. You guys should do the work, but I would say first one is feedback early and often. 2, setting a success condition. And 3, making sure the what, how, and results are crystal clear. If I have those 3 things, I'm going to be in a much, much better position to hold accountability across the board. And do it with some vision and inspiration.
I just want to add one thing to that too, like asking people. Sometimes we get in this mindset of like our reality and our competency and what we know. And especially if you wrote the job description, right? Like you have a very different understanding than someone who's just joining your team of what their role and responsibilities are and what they're accountable to. So just even having that clarity of asking, you might be surprised because it's very common to live in our level of competency and not realize that the person across the table might not be there yet. There's a growth pattern to that. So
yeah, also you might not know their discipline, right? Like I hire a bunch of people with PhDs and I hire them because they know very specific things that I don't know. And so coming up with a like what is a success, especially in timelines, like what does success look like? I would hesitate to just be like, this is due on this date. I told the client it's due on this date, and they have to do all the modeling for it, right? They're going to be like, it's not possible. Like, I have to get these data sets. I have to do this. I have to do this. Like, they should be involved in that discussion. Otherwise, I'm putting them into a position of impossible success outcomes. I've learned to do that over time because I don't know what the hell Iman does. He does great work, but I can't do it, right? So I don't know how long it takes.
Right.
I don't know all the data sets he has to get to build this thing. I don't know like how many modeling iterations. Like when he starts describing, he's like, I have to run my models overnight on 3 computers. And if one of those computers crashes, I have to rerun it because it's like so data heavy intensive. Like I don't know that, right? So I would be an idiot to come in and say it's due in a week and you're failing if you don't get it to me. Like, he needs to be involved in those client decisions. He needs to be involved in telling me how long it takes, what he needs, inputs, outputs. Otherwise, you're not hiring an expert if you think you know how it should be done and when it should be done, right?
Yeah, for sure. And just as a little bit of, you can gamify this a little bit as well, bouncing off of what Heather's talking about. Sometimes when you're too close to being better at what that person is trying to accomplish, it can become a problem. Like I managed entire restaurants, right? 166 people was my biggest team. I had people that were way better at me and they were doing stuff I had no idea. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, but I had to hold them accountable. Like, you're an entire kitchen team. I can't tell you exactly how to do it. But I do know that this is a result I'm looking for. I do know that this is a quality that I can't have. I can't have this much waste and this much returns and these other sorts of factors going on. So sometimes sort of like gamifying it and removing yourself as the specialist is a really effective thing, right? So it's like, if I ran a restaurant and my chef was not delivering, I can't step in and do his job, but I would still have to hold him accountable in some way, shape, or form. And if I was running an HVAC company, I can't install HVAC. It's like, but could I functionally do it? Yeah. Like, could I still be a general manager or an operations or an owner of a company? Sure. But that's a leadership skill. It's not the specialization skill. So.
Right, but yeah, you still have to understand, like, if your kitchen staff is being told to cook a steak in 1 minute and it's going to kill people,
right,
and they're telling you that, and they also need like fresh basil and you never give it to them, like, they're going to fail, right? You can say, like, we need a faster turnover of these steaks. So let's be like, sorry, like, that's not going to happen.
Correct. Yes, 100%. Okay, fabulous. So team accountability, lean into it, figure it out, start getting better at it, figure out what parts are causing internalized to outward issues and which parts are outside of yourself that are part of your system and your process that's causing issues. Figure out those two things together and you'll start to see some gains across the board. And I think it's important for everyone to take a look at their team and see where those wins are happening and then start fixing on the other side. Next session is July 25th. We'll see you at 1 o'clock on that date as well for the next mastermind. I'll upload the video later and you guys will have access to it. And of course, the community is doing some good things across the board. So right on, right
Awesome.
on.
Thank you, Edwyn.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Great weekend.
Ciao, ciao.